Hi everyone. We're now trying to bring Malo Petit into the panel. Oh, great. You made it. Okay, you're here.
I am not a panelist, but I can talk.
Well, that's the point. Really. Yes, in the meantime, we discussed that Malo Petit isn't turning on his camera because he's at a Halloween party. And his costume doesn't match today's topic. So right. Messages are coming in here. I don't need any of them. The reason we had to suddenly convene today is that there are ongoing frauds with website clones. So we are facing the so-called phishing site problem, which, by the way, affects everyone from OTP to all banks. It was necessary to make decisions that we are now bringing to your attention. So you found the phishing site, or you have found it, or many of you found it through Google search, clicked on it, and logged in there. Now, with what? This is not a legitimate site. It is a scam site. When a person enters their email address and password there, they are giving that information to the hacker. A hacker logs in with already known credentials, changes what they could, including the email address. And now this solution no longer works, and they withdrew the available amounts for themselves. There has already been communication about this, but some people missed it. So it was suddenly necessary to put an end to this. Therefore, on the novalusbrand.com website, you will now experience that everyone must provide a new password. Okay, so everyone needs to provide a new password. This will work with the email address you registered with initially. The data will be sent there. In order to do this and to withdraw money, it is mandatory to enable two-factor authentication. So I'm going to quickly show this now, but I think everyone will find it. And then I would like to talk about what to pay attention to. Petty, I'm asking you to just jump in if I forget something or if you want to add something. Or clarify. Okay.
Definitely, while you load it, I'll say a few words about it. So good, now you're in the middle of a mandate. Yes, so it is very important to pay attention to what we do on the internet because everyone is hunting for our data. To understand very precisely what ACI pointed out, and I think I have mentioned it several times as well, we need to be very careful when we want to log into our NetBank or Novalis Prime or anywhere else. It's convenient when the browser suggests something and we don't write it down or even remember if it's .com or whatever. We just remember the first two letters, click on the search, and hit the first result. Right now, the same thing happened where someone created a fake site called allspam.online, an eSal site, and anyone who typed in allspam.com in, clicked on the first result in Google, ended up on this page. Why was this the first result? Well, because the dear gentleman or anyone else placed advertisements on his little page, that's why it was the first result on Google. One must be very cautious, not only regarding novalusbrand.com, but in all internet activities. It's really convenient to search for things and click on the link instead of typing the URL. I do it too, but it also means that I check to see if the URL is really the one I ended up on at the end of the day. You should only trust novalusbrand.com. So if you are on that site, make sure you see novalusbrand.com in your browser's address bar, and that you are on HTTPS, with a little checkmark indicating security. If you notice that your browser is warning you when you open novalusbrand.com, you shouldn't just say, okay, but I will ignore this error and log in anyway because I really want to log in. No. If there is something, it's not a problem, or you should let us know as the certificate has expired. You shouldn't accept it. This has never happened before that it expired. If you see anything up there other than normalnosbrand.com, then it is a fraudulent site. What should be done in this case? There is an option to report fraudulent sites in every browser, and Attila might show this. If you encounter something like this, it is worth reporting. The more we report, the greater the chance that the browser will block the fraudulent site. So I ask you to pay close attention and use the internet consciously, because it seems that many of you have shared your passwords and usernames on this site. Previously, it seems that only 2 or 3 people were affected, and there weren't really more individuals who experienced this loss. However, we see that others' passwords have also been compromised, which is why it is essential for everyone to reset their passwords and regenerate them with you, or to set them up again with you.
Well, by the way, it's a very practical thing, and it's even convenient that if you have the real site, then now, if I understand correctly, my screen is shared. Petty, help me see if it's visible.
It shows.
All right, then you simply need to grab it and save it. It can be done in any browser, and it's worth putting it in the top bar, because then you just have to click on it. Then they will take you to the right place. If it was saved correctly, it will definitely take you to the right place. And from then on, the convenience issue is also resolved. I would start with 2FA. Enabling 2FA is really simple. You just go into the settings, select two-factor authentication, and then we can say that we haven't prepared for adding an authentication app, because this was only recently developed. That's what we want to talk to you about today. So now you just go ahead with that app, and we will discuss this shortly. You select it, scan this QR code, and the app will always generate a 6-digit code every 30 seconds that you can use to log in. By the way, I spoke not long ago with the IT security person from one of the banks, and he said that they have a lot of fraud, and it happens using exactly the same methods, so it's a very common issue. He mentioned that people do not use 2FA, which is very strange for those who are in the IT world and, moreover, deal with cryptography to some extent, especially in places where value is at stake. We were also surprised, so he mentioned some statistical data that left me astonished, indicating that people do not use it. By the way, their own internal banking statistics say that about 95% of fraud would be eliminated if people used 2FA. It would eliminate it if people used 2FA. So, from now on, it's not just recommended, but necessary for you to use this. You won't be able to withdraw money unless you enable it. This way, you can turn it on, and we will suggest which application to use. I will show you one that I use. Besides that, there are plenty of others that are good, but don't randomly pick unknown 2FA applications. I'm not going to detail why right now. This is my suggestion. Now, I'm not saying it's an official proposal or what I'm about to show, or from any major provider like Google Authenticator or Microsoft. Obviously, we don't really like these companies that much, so I'll show you one that I use, which is very good, and I really like it. It's Aegis, it works perfectly for me. But this is just a suggestion. If it's not a big deal and not the one you're using, then make sure to carefully check which one you are using. It can be downloaded, is completely free, works perfectly, allows for very simple backups, and makes it very easy to transfer from one phone to another. So I think it won't pose a challenge for anyone to use. It is necessary, by the way, in any area of life, so it is worth introducing it into our lives. That we use 2FA. And then let's see what we need to pay attention to. I made a document like this. Can you read these things that are out here? So, are the letters visible? They are visible. Good. A typical phishing site. It seems we are on the perfect page. We're not paying attention. Of course, that's how it is. Aha, I changed the R in the e-magazine. Is that good? So, there are such simple things. There is another solution, and now, a couple of concepts. Here is a domain, but in reality, this domain belongs to the owner. In this case, the hacker's domain, and this is a subdomain. And you can see that it includes novalusbrand.com. This can happen, so we need to pay attention to it. Okay, what comes after the PR is a subpage. It is no longer the domain, and that is a different topic. If this part is the first half, and it's okay, then there isn't a big problem, right?
The other thing is that, and let me just comment on the previous 4 points, you know that it's dangerous with long domains because you don't know which browser to use, and it might write the beginning and truncate the rest. Always click on the linked and check it if you accessed it through a search engine.
Yes, that's right. Moreover, you mentioned SSL. Just because a site has an SSL certificate does not mean it is not a phishing site. In fact, phishing sites can also have SSL certificates. So, the mere presence of an SSL certificate does not provide security if it is absent. That makes it very suspicious. This is how it should be interpreted.
Yes, so both are necessary. So if you have a good domain, you know, if it's not HTTP securing, that should be suspicious. If you are on a different domain, then having HTTPS alone is not enough.
That's right. Good. You can see here that this is the example. By the way, this is specifically what the current problems are with the domain. If you see Novalis Prime is spelled correctly, but it's TLD, meaning where it belongs, is online, and there are many such cases. Because there are at least 1,000 different endings, we haven't bought all of them, but this is the case with all banks and everyone else. So if this is not the original official one, then it's not good. Good, and there is only one good one, which is valuecprime.com. It's that simple. You always have to check this. If you have a good domain, then that's already good. So you really need to be able to verify this. My suggestion, but I think it could be the official suggestion, is to save the correct domain and click on it to loading. It's that simple. And now let's take a look. This is the fraudulent site. It looks very, very similar to the original. Now, it might be that yes, this warning has appeared, so you will encounter this. And don't be surprised that you need to change your passwords. And don't be surprised that it will require two-factor authentication at certain steps. This will happen. So, actually, that's all we wanted to say. Petty, I don't know if there's anything we absolutely need to mention, but I think we've covered the essence of it.
For me, I want to say something different. I also want to say that you should pay very close attention because, as you can see, at least they are changing into mods Google ads. So a Google ad is not a guarantee that something is authentic.
And then it's important to note that even though we started reporting and many of us reported it, sometimes these reports are responded to within a few hours. But now it has been many days, perhaps more than a week, without any response. A police report has also been filed. These reports do get addressed, but sometimes very slowly. So, even if we take these steps, it doesn't guarantee that they will happen immediately. And there are no tools to prevent the creation of even more phishing sites in the future. This does not stem from our incompetence, as no major bank, not just Hungarian banks, but any major bank in the world is capable of this, and No organization with real global power can solve or eliminate the appearance of phishing sites. So unfortunately, this is common. I won't say it's normal, but it is common. So users need to be vigilant here. By the way, if we are careful with the domain and use 2FA, then if we do these two things, compared to the current situation where you are not using two-factor authentication and you type the domain into the search engine where you want to log in, I think you reduce the risk of running into such situations by a few thousandths of a percent, less than 100%. Thank you very much for your attention. I will try to bring back my large screen. If Malapeli has nothing to add, then that's it for today, and spread the word that we need to pay attention.
I don't have anything to add either, so please pay close attention. Thank you.
Okay, by the way, I would add that the Mosaic Academy will be very involved in such matters, generally speaking, as we are crypto-anarchists who are capable of keeping our data safe and existing securely in the digital space. This cannot be done without education. It requires both proper education and attention from those who are willing to absorb the knowledge. There is an increasing need for this in the world, so training will soon begin for everyone who is willing to accept it. So I wish everyone a very happy holiday, and we will be back soon with more pleasant topics. Goodbye.